So, I have been getting a lot of DMs and a lot of emails lately about my grad school experience. This is a topic that I researched so much before I went to grad school. I was watching every YouTube video about, was this program worth it? Was it worth it? What was my experience? All these things. I would love to make a video about my experience in the Cambridge School of Art Children's Book Illustration Masters. If any of you out there are looking at the Anglia Ruskin University Cambridge School of Art Children's Book Masters program, then this video is for you. Obviously, everything I share in this video is just my opinion, and everyone has a completely different experience of grad school and has different opinions about it. People like to say a lot that college isn't for everyone, and that's especially true with master's programs. It's really not for everyone. I think it's good to be educated about what it even is and what it's like, and then make your decision from there. My advice for the portfolio application is pretty simple. People love to see your process. If you can show your process as much as possible, show the way you think in your sketchbook and your drawings, then that is ideal. Everything I say about this next one is a bit nuanced. You can't just take it as what I say, but showing that you can draw, I would say, is important. Showing that you can draw academically, that you know your way around the figure and perspective and things like that, that is very important. But it is not as important as showing that you are a storyteller and that you can think creatively and you've got interesting concepts for your work. How did grad school help establish my career? So one of the main reasons why I chose the program that I did was because of two things. There was the graduating show in London, which is like a big publishing hub. And then there was the Bologna Book Fair. The Cambridge School of Art is the only school at the Bologna Book Fair that has a booth. Agents and publishers stop by, flip through all the students' work, take dummy books down off the shelves and flip through them and have meetings with the professors, come away with a list of students they want to work with, and then, bam, you're in their corral of artists. Now, how did this help establish my career? First of all, the London Art Show was absolutely bonkers. I could not have predicted how well it was going to go. I can't remember exactly everything that happened there, but publishers and agents from all around London, they book that day on their calendar. They book the London Art Show day at Candid Arts Trust on their calendar, and they come by and, their art directors are there, their editors are there. Basically all of publishing, anyone who's anyone in London publishing, in UK publishing, shows up to find, new talent. So how did this show work out for me? I can't remember exact numbers, but I had a handful of agents reach out to me wanting to represent me. I had 4 or 5 meetings with publishers around London who were just interested in meeting me and talking about my work more. Ultimately, I found the agent that I'm going to be represented by, who I'm really excited about. This was all because of the London Art Show. Bologna is different from the London show because the convention is literally 30,000 people just descending on this little Italian city. And everyone's there. Everyone that's there is in the trade. Everyone is there to sell rights to children's books that already exist. Not a whole lot of people are there to find new talent to work with, but they're there. And yeah, it's just a lot of the back end work of publishing happens at Bologna that you just don't really think about, translation of children's books, the buying of rights for selling children's books to different countries. Just every publisher you can imagine is there. Every imprint of every publisher you can imagine is there. Every agency is there. Literally the whole world is there, it feels like. The Cambridge School of Art booth at Bologna is a bit like the London Art Show. A lot of publishers try to visit our booth every year, try to flip through all the students' art, and people are very interested in it. The way I would say Bologna is different from the London Art Show is that just because of the mere fact that there's 30,000 people there are like 15 exhibits happening. Everyone there has been looking at art all day long, reading children's books all day long, and in meetings, and like it's just so, it's like everyone's just like at a level 10 socially, and everyone's so just like stimulated, and because of that, I didn't find as much success at Bologna as I did at the London show, just because I think a lot of people are just so overloaded by the amount of art they see that they almost become desensitized to it, if that makes sense. Like, I got a lot of feedback from publishers, a lot of like one-liners like, oh, cool shapes, or love the texture. It's like, okay, cool, thanks, or something, you know? It was like, you're my dream publisher, and you just like looked at my work for 30 seconds. But like, that's just normal there. It is absolutely insane. So, Bologna was good. I wouldn't say it helped me as much as the London show, but it was an amazing experience, and I'm definitely going to be going back in the future. Those were the main draws for me for this program, and as a direct result of going to these events, I'm getting a new agent that I'm super excited about. I'm like honestly kind of shocked that they even want to have me, but whatever. I met a lot of people and formed a lot of connections based on things that I would never have been able to do this myself. Like, you've really just got to be there in person. You've got to be at the art shows. You've got to be at the conventions. You've got to be meeting people. So, you know, Cambridge School of Art did that amazingly for me. Do you have a specific vision of what success looks like in your work? Do you want to be an art professor? Are you trying to make a hard pivot in your work? And can you pay for it? If you answered yes to all those questions, I'd say you are totally someone that can go to grad school if you want to. In my mind, it's not worth it to go into debt for an art degree, whether it's undergrad or grad degrees. It's just not worth it in my mind. There are way too many art programs online that are so affordable that if you're looking for just the art skills, you should go there instead. Paying for grad school for me actually worked out pretty well because my undergrad was essentially free. I had a bunch of scholarships going to this university, and the tuition was cheap anyways. So I actually came out with more money than I started, but it definitely was still a sacrifice. It's hard to live far from family. It's hard to live in a foreign country. Things in the UK are very expensive, and I was a lot less comfortable as an international student than I would have been if I had just chosen a university in my own country. If you really haven't narrowed down what kind of work you want to be making in the future, I would say you're not a good candidate for a grad program. Like, you've got to come with the plan. They're just there to like help you execute it, basically. It does not translate to more pay unless you're like working at a university. No one will be like, oh, I want this illustrator to do my book for me. Oh, she's got a master's. Okay, we'll double her pay. Like, that is not a thing. If you want someone to teach you how to draw and paint, a master's program is not for you either. This sounds really weird because it's like an art program and, you know, we're making art there, right? But when you go to grad school, they expect you to come with the skills. We had a bunch of workshops in my master's program where I learned so much about art, and my art really improved because of those workshops. But like 5 of those workshops were fundamentals, like the things you traditionally think of when you think of like, oh my gosh, that's a good picture. It's got perfect perspective. It's got perfect anatomy. It's got like perfect lighting and shading and all these things. It's grad school is really not the place to learn your fundamentals. So come with those under your belt already. What do I wish I knew before going to grad school? So I can only really speak to my program specifically because I haven't experienced any other grad program, but for mine, it was surprisingly self-guided. I was pretty shocked coming from a university where you had like little assignments throughout the semester to make sure you were on track for your final project, and there's just not a lot of hand-holding in grad programs in general. I think that's pretty true. We started the first semester with class twice a week and like a printmaking workshop once a week, so it was 3 class days starting out, and then like towards the end of the program it was class once a week. So that's very different from 6+ hours of art classes in the US every day, which is often the case for a lot of programs. Okay, this next one sounds really silly, but I didn't know that I'd have to write a master's thesis. Like, I had no idea that if you were getting an art degree, you had to do any sort of writing. But yeah, you've got a master's thesis too when you get an art degree. So just be prepared for that. It's obviously not the highlight of the program and it's not the reason you go, but you've just got to get it over with. So there's that too. Something that really shocked me when I went to Cambridge School of Art was the British grading scale. The British grading scale is completely different from the US grading scale. It makes you feel like the worst student ever because they use the full spectrum. It is like a good grade to get a C there, or C minus, or like a D. Like, I think I've gotten a D, but yes, that is a thing. This last one I feel like has to be explained so much that I almost don't want to say it, but no one really cares that you can draw, if that makes sense. No one really cares that you can render a perfect eyeball or draw 100% lifelike. It's just not something that gets applause in grad school. What really gets accolades is the creativity, the interesting stories, the emotion behind your work. Being a good storyteller is more important than being a good draftsman. So bear that in mind too. Obviously there needs to be a balance. Craftsmanship will always have a place, and I think with the rise of AI, it's going to have an even bigger importance to us. The fact that something was handmade is very impressive and important. But also, no one cares about your perfectly drawn eyeball. You know what I'm saying? Just no one cares. It's not important. What are the biggest things I learned in grad school? I learned how to not rely on digital tools so much. My program was very traditionally based. It was weird to see someone using an iPad and pulling out Procreate, which I really liked about it. That's one of the reasons I chose the program. I learned how to make an emotional story. I learned printmaking. I learned how to truly draw from observation. That first semester at Cambridge School of Art is called Observation and Experiment, and holy cow, it breaks you in. It is like standing in front of an exploding fire hydrant and trying to fill a cup. It is insane. I also developed a much clearer vision of who my work is for and who my work isn't for. I feel like that makes more sense as you start making more work and like sending it off into the world. I also really narrowed down like who I want to be as an artist. I really found my mission statement, if you could say that. Like, my art really has a defined purpose now because I went to grad school. It's very directed and focused. In grad school, I became aware of a bunch of really interesting illustrators and was exposed to just so much art that I never would have seen if I didn't go to grad school. I think this was also because I was in another country, and each country has different art that it rewards, if that makes sense. And I love British art so much. I love the European book market. I figured out what kind of stories I want to tell, and I basically would say I grew up artistically. Let's listen to a few of my classmates talk about what they learned in grad school.
I think the most important thing that I learned in the MA was to just trust the process and try different things, keep exploring, and you don't know what might click. I never knew I would make sad emotional books like a year ago, and I would never have imagined to be in the printmaking world like a year ago. But here we are, all my books are sad and emotional, and I love them. And so yeah, just keep exploring. You don't know what will end up like.
What I learned doing the MA is how to bring more of my observations to life through my drawing, how to build a habit of drawing, and especially how to balance my own vision with other people's feedback.
So first I think I learned more about mixed media and tried more media. And for the story-wise, I think I got more inspiration from my experience in Europe and traveling and talking to people and meet more persons here. So I feel it's all influenced my story a lot. And I got a lot of feedback from classmates and teacher, and it all helped me to build my own style and my own words in the picture book.
I think after this course, I've become more creative, especially about making character and writing stories about imaginative world. Because before I used to draw more like daily life things, but now I can draw something that is from my creativity. So I really enjoy that. I feel like I can expand my theme more like than before. So I think that's what I've learned after the 1.5 years.
Okay, so what did you learn in the MA?
So before, basically before I came here, I didn't have any visual identity. So through my exploration in this course, I finally found my theme and styles of architecture and maps. Yeah, which is cool. So it's gonna be on YouTube.
For me, I think it's the way to find what you really like. 'Cause in the MA, there's a lot of different advice and suggestions in a different way, and in this course, I learned how to make my own decision to make the choice.
Is there a substitute for going to grad school? I would say absolutely. You do not have to go to a formal institution and get an MA or an MFA or whatever to get the skills, specifically the skills, I would say, associated with that. If you're looking for just really good art programs to do on your own terms, there are dozens of courses online. A couple good online programs are Make Art That Sells. It's a more commercial based art program if you're looking for something along those lines. I personally have done a couple SVS Learn courses in the past, and SVS stands for School of Visual Storytelling. This is a course designed especially for children's book illustrators. They've got classes for the fundamentals, they've got classes for character design, telling a compelling story. Everything you can imagine is there. I highly, highly recommend that one. If you are interested in more European art, I would go to Good Ship Illustration. Good Ship Illustration is just like a really fun community and also happens to teach art skills. So it's fun. If you have more questions about grad school and I maybe haven't addressed everything, I go into even more specific detail on my blog at audreygraceart.com. I give a semester by semester overview of my grad school experience. So definitely head over to audreygraceart.com and read my blog posts. They cover a lot of what I haven't touched on in this video. Obviously, going to grad school is a very personal choice, and it's not a one-size-fits-all situation for people. For me, making the decision to go to grad school felt like one of those things where if I didn't do it, I would think about it for the rest of my life. And I'd be like, what would happen if I did go to grad school? Like, that's something I want to do. Why didn't I do it? I knew that it would be a regret of mine if I didn't do it. The idea of moving somewhere far away with my husband and getting an MA in children's book illustration felt like just like a call to adventure for me. And I didn't want to back down from that opportunity. So follow your own path and make your own decisions. And I wish you so much luck in your art journey, and I hope things go well for you. Thanks for watching.